Which high school friend took a path you didn't expect? I knew a girl in high school who was very sweet but very shy. She had very poor eyesight, had some tough dental issues, was overweight, and lived with a foster family in a trailer park. She wasn't particularly close with anyone in school. I got the sense that she was just trying to make it through, head down, get it done. But she was always kind and I would talk with her a bit here and there. Mostly she kept to herself and seemed to want to just not be noticed at all. After high school, we lost touch. 20 years later, I get a Facebook request from someone with her name, but the picture looks nothing like her. Not even a vague resemblance. I accept because I'm curious. Well, it was indeed her. It turns out that she worked her way through /paid for community college. Ended up getting a good job with a family company and worked her way up the ranks there. She saved all of her money. By her late 20s, she saved enough money and had good insurance for eye surgery and dental surgery. She also started really focusing on getting healthy. She said it all boosted her confidence so much that she started traveling around the country. During those travels, she ended up meeting a great guy. She and her husband have a nice family, good jobs, and live in an affluent community. She acknowledged that her early years were tough, and she had such low self-esteem that she had a tough time making friends. She thanked me for always being kind to her. She ended with, "I may have blossomed late, but it was worth the wait. I'm so happy for her. We keep in touch." The son of my teacher was a football player. Had a beautiful GF. They broke up before he graduated though, and was a procrastinator. Once he graduated, he went to work at a restaurant for a year, and as far as I knew, he was going to attend college the next year, but he had no idea of what his major was gonna be. I just found out 2 weeks ago he got accepted to a local seminary, and is going to become a priest. I was shocked to say the least. Best friend in high school. His stepdad was a district attorney and apparently they didn't get along at all. This was the Bible Belt Southeast. I met him in the 10th grade as I smoked weeda and he happened to sell it. He lived in a trailer park and financed it with his weeda sales. My parents hated him. After he graduated from high school while living 100% on his own, he did 2 years of college before getting accepted in a major medical university program that actually paid him to be there. He is now a pharmaceutical engineer living in Switzerland. My parents were surprised to hear that. He was 2 years younger than me. Absolutely brilliant, and went to Stanford after high school. Died in his sleep from a heart attack at age 20 while visiting family in China. He had an undiagnosed heart defect. So yeah, that was pretty unexpected. R.I.P. Kevin. Not HS. But my best friend's freshman roommate was a weird guy. Brilliant. Literally 1600 SAT scores. Full ride. Brilliant. But never really showered. He was dating the sweetest, kindest girl, who dumped him after 2 months of trying to get him to take better care of himself and actually go out and do anything. We tried to get him to come out of his shell because he was pretty funny and we liked the guy. After not hearing from him for 15 years, we looked him up. Apparently he co-founded Revolve Clothing, is a multi-millionaire, and parties in Ibiza and Sheet. I'm genuinely happy for the guy. But I never, ever, expected him to hit it big in fashion. Guy who sat behind me in hometown. Was a good student, but not an intellectual superstar by any means. After I relocated to Eastern PA, turns out he was in Western NJ. Multimillionaire. Former CEO of a pharmaceutical company. Great guy. Super happy for him. But truly unexpected. Western NJ has so many damn multimillionaires. Raised there. Sadly not a multimillionaire. There were two that really stand out. One of them was a girl who got in a fair amount of trouble. She skipped school, had a bad attitude, and was more interested in hanging out with friends than learning. She ended up becoming a lawyer, and eventually became the assistant DA of a city with about 3 million people. The other was a nice guy. Got along with most everyone. I even considered him a friend and hung out with him on occasion. He came from a great family, and while he didn't get the best grades, he was good at things like fixing cars, so I assumed he would end up going into that field. Instead, he started a career in drinking. By the time he was 30, he had been in jail several times, in a rehab a couple of times, had been arrested numerous times, had 2 restraining orders on him from former girlfriends, and had burned so many bridges with his family they had given up on him. Now in his mid-40s, he still lives in that same town. He looks like he is in his 60s, is on disability, and likely doesn't have much of a future as he continues to drink himself away. A girl I knew was a strict Christian and floated between groups of friends. Her judgmental side came out from time to time. Once I remember her telling a girl she was going to burn in the depths of hell for having sex. I only know this because I was the lucky girl sitting between them when the other girl jumped over me to punch her. Anyway, after high school, I heard she met a guy, stopped being a Christian, and wrote all sorts of oversharing sexual statuses on Facebook. They got engaged and were hooked on Drew Gus. She pawned her engagement ring for Drew Gus and lived above a smoke shop out east. Good news. She's now off Drew Gus, married and has a daughter. Still posts over sexualized photos and statuses on Facebook. We're good on seeing you in lingerie suggestively laying on your husband. Had a friend that was the weirdest guy I'd met. He'd often yell random stuff for no reason, do every kind of accent, and was just generally awkward around people. Saw him a few years after, and he was dressed to the nines. Very clean cut, and socially well adjusted. Complete 180 from high school. Made me rethink all my life's choices up until that point, since I was not doing so hot in life. Edit, I'm loving all the people wondering if I'm talking about them, or someone they know. Cheerleader who took a heck of a turn. She was an impressive drinker in high school. She kept it up through college. Got a job. Didn't love it. She joined AA. Met a guy. Older. Had nice finances. Estranged from his ex-wife. Kids. No other family. They got married. A few months later. They're both drinking again. Within 2 years. He's dead. He left her everything. She is devastated. She goes back to AA. Met another guy. Apparently older men who are estranged from their families are super easy to find in AA. You got it, they're drinking. Next thing you know, he's dead. Left her everything. Now she's gone back to AA again. She has met the most wonderful man. It's a shame his kids won't speak to him and won't come to the wedding. It's next month. Elizabeth the badass party chick. She was the brilliant and quietly rebellious type. She was pulling and getting away with shit that most of the guys branded as troublemakers in school could only dream of. Because she had the sense and savvy to not show off to the world. She wasn't doing shit for the attention. She was just doing it because that's what she wanted to do. So smoking, heavy drinking, some Drew Gus, staying out all night, whatever. She could outdo anyone else. Anyway, a little over 10 years later I caught up with her and found out she was a triathlete and overall health nut. The most brilliant girl I knew, second in our graduating high school, was also one of the most lively and outgoing people I knew. She could befriend anyone. She was so fun and energetic and thoroughly enjoyed living life. I thought she was destined for so much success. She ended up passing away last year, just a couple months shy of her 24th birthday, after a lengthy, private battle with cancer. When I found out about her illness, it was already terminal. And when she passed away, all I could think was how unfair it was that someone with so much potential, someone who did everything right in life, could die like that. Her death really got to me. And as the 1-year anniversary is approaching, I constantly remind myself to make the most of every second of my life. Because hers was cut so short. This one is sad. Many of these are because someone made a series of obviously stupid choices. This girl died because the universe decided to smite her through no fault of her. You honor her by remembering her and sharing with us. Girl in my high school was a terrible human being. Selfish and totally self-absorbed. I couldn't stand her. One of the shallowest, nastiest people I knew. 20 years later, she sacrifices her life trying to help save 3 children, unknown to her, from drowning in a rip current at a local beach. When I was 10, I sat next to the sweetest boy in our class. All the other boys I had sat next to in junior school were mild as hats. I remember I lent him my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory VHS, and he lent me the Muppets Take Manhattan. We went to different high schools when we were 12. I heard that at 16 he had been arrested for armed robbery. I still can't believe it. What the hell happened to that kind and gentle boy between 12 and 16? Life. Sweet kids can get caught up and forced to do shit by the wrong crowd quite easily. A lot of them. I don't know if there was something in the water in our town. A lovely girl in my class had severe anorexia, to the extent she had to repeat the year. She was strikingly pretty, with the face of an angel. Always wondered if she felt self-conscious and grew obsessed about her looks because it was what people valued. Nobody made the same fuss about her good grades or niceness. She is now morbidly obese, couch surfing, and pretty much always wears the same big brown coat and tracksuit pants. Was shocked to see her go from one extreme to the other. Still really nice. Hope it works out for her. Another high achiever in our class is now a traveling musician and nudist. She dropped out of engineering and just travels from festival to festival as a concert goer. Dressed as a barefoot rainbow fairy. Self-funds by offering tarot readings. Spells, palmistry. Lived by the creek for a while. Has a Pomeranian. Disordered eating can take many forms. Hope she gets help and can find the help she needs to develop a more healthy relationship with food. I had a wickedly smart and talented high school friend end up in porn as a last resort. Long story as to why it was a last resort in a nutshell. At the time, she saw it as her only way out of a bad situation that had spiraled out of control quickly. She finally managed to get out of porn and studied to become a teacher, winning many awards throughout her years-long career. One summer, an AZ-hole parent came across her porn and decided it would be a good idea to send her videos to the local media and expose her past. Being a smallish town, word traveled fast. I believe it even made national news at one point. And the more conservative people in the community called for her to be fired. The school district cowed to the pressure and let her go. Even though many other people did end up vocally supporting her after the news of her firing. She decided she'd had enough. She made the decision to leave the community and start over by focusing on her art and political causes that she was passionate about. Last I'd heard, she was doing well selling her art and teaching at a local university. Not sure if she disclosed her past to the university. And is a very active member within the local chapter of her political party. Never would have expected this road for her. But I'm glad she's doing well. A friend of mine was really into herself and dated a lot of rich guys. She vowed not to get married or have children, that she had goals to become a business professional woman. She did some modeling, etc. Fast forward 10 years. She gained 120 pounds and her husband left her for another woman, and she is raising a disabled child that consumes all her time where she cannot work. I have to say that she is an excellent mother. She basically turned into everything she said that she would not be. Friend I'd known since freshman year, 9th grade of HS. Home life wasn't stellar. Abusive step-parent. Control freak mom. Etc. joined the Marines to escape. Met someone, got married, had like 4 kids and was expelled from service for medical reasons. Got divorced. Dad got full custody. So she moved back home and bounced around in a travel trailer with a younger boyfriend, who stole his boss's business credit card before they bounced to Lord knows where. Last time she surfaced, it was on Facebook, and she was selling their wedding rings he'd purchased using the stolen credit card. It's a real shame how things went. She'd done well in the Marines and even in the early years of her marriage. Not sure what the tipping point was. She was furious about losing custody, but she wanted to uproot 4 kids from their home, school, friends and dad's side of family to bounce around in a 13-feet travel trailer living off her $650 in disability. She absolutely refused to acknowledge how horrible that would have been for them. The happy surprise? One of the girls I went to school with kind of came from the wrong side of the tracks. Nice kid. But her family was known to be pretty trashy. And she dropped out of community college to be a stripper. A few years later, she got her shit together. And now she's a corporate lawyer. The not-so-happy surprise? Dude was brilliant. He came from a wealthy family. He was good at sports. He was a hilarious person to be around. Even at the time, it was no secret that he had his demons. But he was just so damn smart that it seemed like if he could grow out of his adolescent angst, everything would be fine. Again, wealthy family, bright, good looking. Bro didn't exactly have to hit a home run to do okay in life. I believe he's working part-time at the grocery store now. But he may have gotten fired again. Or he might be back on disability. Or maybe he's working at Pizza Hut. It's always hard to keep it straight, because he doesn't tend to hold down any particular job for long. Honestly, if he weren't such a nice person, there might be a hint of schadenfreude there. But as it is, it's just tragic. He really was brilliant. And he really was a wonderful human being. But there weren't enough advantages in the world to save him from himself. Low achiever. Used to goof off in class all the time. Bit of a class clown. Used to tell everyone that her goal was to be a trophy wife so she could watch TV all day. Has shown her designs at Paris Fashion Week and has dressed several celebrities. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I was flicking through a copy of Vogue Australia on my lunch break, and there was a 4-page article on her in there. I was so happy. She always had a heart of gold, and I feel like her teen self was a reflection of what her family thought for her. She deserved to be much more than someone's wife. I would probably be a good post about this, but since this isn't about myself, here we go. A girl who was in the top 10 of my graduating class. Had plans to become a lawyer and probably would have succeeded, seeing as how her mock trial team won state. Went to college and learned she enjoyed the arts much more. Briefly become an actress, but failed. Moved back home with her parents and started her own photography business, but failed. Now she is a very successful burlesque dancer, while she has failed in many of her endeavors. I always admire her will to find something new to try. And the kid in our class who some of us were sure would become a mass murderer is now the fire chief of the local fire department. Not friend but high school rival / enemy. She was one of the worst ducking students in any class. She did no work. She disrupted the class material by getting into stupid as arguments in the middle of class with people she didn't like. Go off topic. Call up people on her cell phone in class. And fight with people. She would get up and walk out in the middle of class and had to have security called on her several times for attempting to fight students and teachers in class. To the point where she would just go, "Don't ducking bother. I'll go down to the security office myself." After picking a fight with somebody, she picked fights with teachers just as often as she picked fights with students. This is when she bothered to show up for class at all. She was also one of my biggest bullies, but at the same time I didn't put up with her shit. By high school I'd been taught well to fight back against bullies. She openly used Drew Gus, drank, and smoked, and she was very, very preoccupied with 6. By the end of 10th grade, just about the entire student body except for her little squad, who were as shitty as she was, hated her guts. And even the teachers would openly talk about how horrible this girl was and, oh dear God, her. Which was honestly an AZ-hole move on the teacher's part. And did nothing to curb her aggression and AZ-hole behavior. What sucked is that she wasn't this way until high school. I knew her in 6th and 7th grade and she was a very sweet girl. Was in the school's advanced vocal ensemble and the band. Got good grades. And was generally polite and well-mannered in class. 8th grade was when it all went to shit with this girl. And sometimes her nice personality still showed through. It was rare. But it was there. She also caught me reading a Diana Wynne Jones book and admitted she also loved those books. And wrote in my yearbook that she wanted to read all the cool-looking books she saw me reading. It was the nicest thing she ever said to me before she went back to insulting my intelligence and picking fights with me every damn time she saw my face. She disappeared unexpectedly at the end of 10th grade and did not return to school. In junior year, I overheard someone saying she had gone away to Virginia. After graduation, I spotted her at the food mart, and she actually smiled, waved at me, and said, "Hi, Nova." Because she was being nice. I said hi back and asked, "Where have you been? We haven't seen you since 10th grade. How are you?" It turns out she had dropped out of high school but had completed her GED during her absence, and was now headed for a college degree. All traces of that nasty, disruptive, bullyish girl were completely gone, and the last I heard of her, she'd gotten her degree and was going on to higher education. I was really proud of her. The 10th grade geometry teacher had called her a lost cause in front of the entire class. Well, I guess she wasn't such a lost cause after all. One of my best friends was Arab, but didn't give in to her parents' traditional ways. She would tell her mom that she was going to backpack through Europe when she turned 18. That she wanted to be a police officer. Refused to wear a hijab, although her parents kept on telling her to. Of course, her parents disapproved of all this and told her, hell no, to traveling or becoming a police officer. 2 years after high school, she became very religious and married some guy in his late 30s and already has 2 kids and only hangs out and talks to people in her Muslim community circle. I don't really talk to her anymore because I'm a guy, although I'm gay, because her husband disapproves of it. She also told me she doesn't support me being gay, because it's wrong. Although throughout high school she was very supportive and was there for me when I came out to my parents, and they didn't take it well. I don't know what caused her to 180 and fall in line with her parents' wishes. But I do miss who she used to be. My best friend from middle school onward. Not the hang out every day type, but more the always there when you need him type. We've been out of high school 7 years now, and we're still in contact. I'm set to be his best man later this year. This guy was the smart, kinda dweeby type, not an insult in the slightest. I was the exact same way. Maybe not as smart, but you get the point. He kept to himself unless you were in his circle. Kept quiet even if you were, and always avoided any kind of confrontation. He'd go out of his way to not talk to someone if it meant he didn't have to answer questions. Imagine my shock when, 2 years after graduation, I catch up with him and find out he's in the Secret Service. Not presidential, but still up there. He's done good for himself. And I'm proud. My brother. He wasn't unintelligent. Just not that interested in school. He was social and kind of lazy. He is currently an RN, registered nurse, in a level 1 trauma center. Going to school to be an NP, nurse practitioner. And married to a beautiful, kind, super smart woman who is also an ER, emergency room RN. He is one of the most wonderful human beings I've ever met, and I'm so proud of the man he's become. Edited to write out abbreviations. Former classmate from high school was a screw-up. He skipped class to smoke behind the school. Sometimes came drunk to school. And was into rap and really talented on the mixer. Even had amateur studio kit. He got his sheet together, and is now on his last year doing an MD. I'm happy for him. The popular guy at school. I mean the most popular. He's the guy whose name you hear and it's like you're talking about a god instead of some average teen. He and this group of girls convinced me that he had a huge crush on me. Wanted to go on a date with me. The whole 9 yards. I was elated until it turned out to be a cruel joke. It really messed with my self-esteem and made me withdraw a lot from people. Where is he now? He has a hot wife and is living his best life. He works for his dad's hunting company and has every 5-star thing he could ever want. Duck you, Tanner. Close friend of mine in 9th grade was kind of prude. Didn't really know anything beyond basic 6 ed. I thought it was a little odd but also thought she'd just learn soon anyway. Last I heard she was in a sub/dom relationship and was living in a house with basically a 6th dungeon. If I remember correctly. I think I heard she broke up with the guy but not sure. Hard to know hearing it all secondhand. Nothing wrong with that lifestyle if you're into it. But it was a surprising transformation. A kid named John. A lot of us smoked weed up, but John was a true champion. One thing I remember about him was him stealing his sister's pop pipe. A wooden pen 15-shaped pipe. He expected us to smoke out of it. We did. I mean, it's we duh. His eyes were always at half-mast. His academic achievements were slim to none, barely scraped by with D's. 20 years later, I inquired about him with a common friend. John became an electrician in another state. He paid careful attention to the industry and felt that the commercial electrical supply firms were less than optimal. So he started one out of his garage. Now he owns a whole string of them. With millions in profit every year. From pen 15 pipe to millionaire. It can happen. A girl I was friends with in middle school was some sort of pathological liar. She came from a great family but made up these insane stories about shooting heroin, having sex with some mystery guy in his car, while I was staying at her house. And so on. This was in 6th grade. I moved away for 3 years and when I came back she seemed just as out of control. I found her on FB a few years ago and she is super down to earth. Has a good job. 2 beautiful dogs and genuinely seems like she's very content with a simple life. I'm so happy for her. One dude from my old crew died during 9/11. He was working in one of the towers. R.I.P. Mark. Love you, brother. Another dude fell off a balcony in college and became a paraplegic. He was a smart kid. Gifted student. But a huge partier. He ultimately sued the school for a shit ton of money. Ended up straightening his act out and being very successful. Kudos, Adele. Had this one friend. Most mature of all of us. She helped her family a lot and that helped her mature because of a lot of younger siblings and 2 good-for-nothing brothers. She always insisted right up to senior year that she didn't need to know exactly what she wanted to do with her life because she didn't want to pick when she was young and foolish. She went to college, which was good. Then she got into an abusive relationship before going back home. She works 2 jobs and the little free time she has is spent coaching her younger brother's sport team. We never realized her family basically was her identity. She has no interest beyond baking, for her family and sports team events, and anime, which she enjoys with her sisters. It sucks. They're all wonderful people. But it sucks. Don't think she even likes coaching, but her mother made her do it. She was so smart and mature we figured she'd get an office job. Want really a high school friend. But more like a babysitter's high school friend. When I was in primary school, my babysitter and her cousin Madeline would hang out together while taking care of me. Madeline was everything you could have wanted out of a high schooler. She was pretty, athletic, and most of all, she was extremely intelligent. Got all sorts of awards and praises in her 8th grade graduation. Once high school came around the corner, We had the biggest hope for her. She planned on doing this program that would allow you to graduate your sophomore year. It was incredibly difficult, and you'd have to take junior and senior classes early on. We all believed in her wholeheartedly. And in short, she failed it miserably. Instead of studying, she slept around and smoked IDOWDid Drew Gus and failed the test to graduate early. She got pregnant junior year by a married man, ended up miscarrying, fell into alcohol, and is currently unemployed living under her mother's care. All of this happened before I could even start high school, a year ago. Best friend in high school was kind of a mess, hanging out with older guys from the wrong side of the tracks, drinking, smoking pot, etc. She became a heroin addict and disappeared for 15 years. She reemerged as a recovering addict. Got a master's degree in addiction psychology. Married a wealthy rancher. Became an addiction therapist. Lost 100 pounds. Lived happily ever after. I thought she was goner. I think I am that high school friend. In middle school, a lot of people thought I was that weird depressed kid that would heal themselves before graduation. I got my academic honors diploma. In high school I was smart, but people didn't think I would make it to college. When I got accepted, my admissions counselor personally called me, and the school gave me several scholarships that gave me the financial means to get me there. Due to not being a social butterfly ever, I had a hard time adjusting to college and making friends. And my stepmom, who was more involved than my biomom ever was, passed away suddenly and tragically. My family didn't even think I would come back. I graduate in a month. I come from a rural community. People have told me since high school going to college is a waste of money, and I need to just join a labor union like everyone else because I'm pissing my money away. I have several job offers where the loans I did have to take on will be manageable, and I'll be able to live a little comfortably. Also, the awkward part? People made fun of me for never really dating and driving people away because I didn't know how to act. I'm laying next to someone who makes me happier than anyone ever could. One was arrested during a sex trafficking sting. 2 dead due to a gang-related shootout in a Walmart parking lot that I drive by on a daily basis. I park in a spot that's about 5 feet away from where they drive just as a memento to myself. The guy that pounded pills and smoked weed all the time ended up finding out his ex-girlfriend was pregnant with his child and ended up turning into the most responsible parent, an adult I've ever known. Ex-girlfriend and anime club president at the time went to college and ended up marrying one of my friend's subordinates at his job. A well-to-do friend of mine ended up hooking up with my other friend, and now they both live in a trailer park. Another ended up killing an Uber driver in a drag race, and I saw his face posted everywhere in newspapers. Seeing people go down different paths and evolve is strange. Talented musician. Academically gifted. Spent his 20s and early 30s dealing with substance abuse. Supposedly got a girl I know addicted to heroin for the last 3 or 4 years. He's been working for the post office. I assume they drug test, so I believe he must have cleaned up. But I know he is a functional alcoholic who drinks way too much. Still, I'm glad he has a career and I hope he'll be able to stick it out. We had a couple of guys die within 3 to 4 years of graduation. Not sure that was unexpected. But I didn't know one killed himself until I was getting ready for our 20 year. Turns out that he was hung up over some girl. The last time I saw him, I was working in a convenience store in town, and he literally chased a girl into the store who I then hid behind me. Behind the counter of the store. I wonder if she was the one he ended his life over? Had a friend who lived near me. Both of us went to parochial schools, which does not make a person good by itself. Trust me, and had solid home lives. His was a little more tense but nothing abnormal. He was really close to his dad and brother, and we were really close friends. All through middle school and the first half of high school he was like a brother to us in our group of friends. Then he started to make a dumb decision here and there, but nothing too huge. Once we graduated, she'd hit the Fan. He got really into Drew Gus. Started with pot first, then shrooms. Coke. LSD. All combined with large amounts of hard liquor. He got in trouble with the law and dropped out of college. Thing is, he was very bright and a talented individual with an absolute heart of gold, but there were issues he had been dealing with that he kept hidden underneath a happy facade. Any one of us would have dropped everything to make sure he was okay, but none of us knew how much help he needed. I've always been a great judge of character, and can just sense what people are thinking and feeling from just talking with them. This guy's though taught me just how masterfully people can hide beneath a smile and a laugh. Taught me to be aware of the small signs. The only benefit to this lesson is that I now know what to look for with students who may need help. People can be so skilled at concealment of their feelings and needs. You have to look for the small things and reach out. Maybe you won't fix it, but it will help for them to know you care and are there for them. He wasn't a friend, but I still value his story. He wasn't a very good student, quite a delinquent, and was known to have the most demerits. I didn't really know him too well, but he knew of me because I did really well in HS and word of me got around. One day during senior year, he saw me in the bathroom and started talking to me. He told me that he looked up to me, that I inspired him, and that he was going to turn his life around. He said he knew he screwed up here and there, and that he didn't take things seriously. But he told me to watch him change himself. Watch him become better. Watch him succeed. I told him to go for it, and never stop believing in himself. Never spoke to him again. We were connected on Facebook, so I saw his life updates on my news feed. He really did change his life in college. He got a 4.0 GPA. He stopped messing around and wasting his time. Actually, he became a studious nerd. He was succeeding. He did it. He proved he can turn things around. He proved that he would take things seriously. He was clearly very ambitious and taking every opportunity he could to advance in life. I never reached out and told him, but I was so damn proud of him. I was doing pretty poorly in my life at the time, and he became a source of inspiration for me. He inspired me, and I looked up to him then. I think he got off social media because I never saw any more news from him. But wherever he is and whatever he is doing, I wish him the best. I hope he accomplishes everything he sets out to do. If I somehow magically ever see him again, I'll be sure to tell him this. My friend that I met when we were in middle school. We didn't go to the same school but had a mutual friend at hers. We formed our first band together. We sucked. We weren't that close. But she always made me laugh and was always smiling and trying to make others happy. We were internet friends after I moved away in high school. She was truly a ball of light. Even though that's a stupid thing to say, she really was. Even though she went through some serious shit, she had a way of making people she just met feel welcome and safe. She was seriously an amazing person. And I always talked about how I thought she was awesome even though we lost touch. We were still friends. She had so many friends who love and care for her. I just went to her memorial service yesterday. She committed suicide. Nothing feels real. I'm not okay. I miss her so much.